And we're here.
I know, but I'm just going to sit here and stare blankly, like pretend it was frozen, that we hadn't come up yet. Because again, we go through this every week. The Instagram. All right, there we are. There we are. And once again, it is the last Thursday. Yeah, the last Thursday in April already. Wow. Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, alongside myself, John Laws, as we're talking about what's happening in Florida, who's coming, who's going. And Larry, I'll tell you, you know who is going? Canadians. That's right. You may see when you're out and about license plates that have Ontario on them. I don't see a lot of Quebec or any of the others, usually Ontario. So leads me to believe it's probably Toronto. I don't know. My Canadian geography sucks, and I acknowledge that. But it's interesting because evidently, since there has been a change in presidents, Canadians aren't feeling as welcome as they used to be. Interesting factoid, Canada makes up 13% of all international real estate transactions. So, you know, they're foreign transactions, I should say. So, you know, when Canadians are getting scared and they feel like they got to move out, you know, and not come back every winter, on the one hand, maybe there's less traffic, but on the other, it's concerning for those who are in the real estate space like yourself. Have you noticed anything? Have you had a lot of Canadian buyers, clients, anything like that?
I would say the feeling is that there are less Canadian buyers in the marketplace right now, for sure. Anecdotally, this is true. And what's interesting is out of that 13% that you just mentioned, 13% of all foreign transactions are Canadian. Most of those Canadian buyers in the U.S. or a good portion of them are in Florida, let alone, right? So
where else do you go? I mean, I see Arizona. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know people who go to California for the winter. I mean, I'm sure they exist.
So this is the math, like this has been done. So Florida is 20%, Texas 13, California 11, Arizona 5, Georgia 4. Canadians love Florida. They love it. Yeah. Foreign buyers median purchase price, $475,000. So not small numbers, right?
Right.
Foreign buyers who paid all cash was about 50%. And so what we've seen is even the foreign buyers, and we'll get into this. This is another reason why less Canadians arguably are buying property here is the exchange rate, the weak Canadian dollar, right? And so more Canadians now that we've worked with who still want to buy in Florida are getting loans and less cash. So it used to be mostly cash, right? We didn't really do too many Canadian foreign loans, right? But now it's more because they want to keep their cash because the conversion rate to USD is just not helpful right now.
I was gonna say, or it's just all over the place.
It's not like catastrophic. I looked at the trend the other day because we were talking about this with another client. We were just talking about what where the demand is going and what's happening. And this was one of the topics that came up. And we were talking about the weak Canadian dollar and how that might apply. And it's not right. Well, I don't have it up here right now. We could probably show the audience, but it's not like catastrophic. It's hovered around something similar for a while now. So number one, political.
Well, I'm looking at some of the new rules. I didn't even realize that
this is interesting too.
New border rules now require Canadians that are staying over 30 days to register and give fingerprints.
I feel like that's the reason.
I was going to say that would make me very reluctant. I have to admit
that to me feels like more like the reason than anything. But and here's a comment I'll make, whether this is going to be perceived as political or not, TBD. What we've found and what I've found is independent business owners who are becoming U.S. citizens or getting their green card and relocating their business down to Florida and moving to Florida, that still feels pretty decent. There still seems to be like a good population growth for that reason, right? tax advantages. So, but if you're just a vacationer or a snowbird, you're not getting those benefits, right? So I'm seeing that. I'm working with a number of clients who have relocated from Canada to the US, bringing their businesses with them. Some of them, most recently, were digital businesses. So they don't have like physical manufacturing plants or anything to bring. They're like web designers and stuff like that, that I've seen come down and helped them secure rentals and homes and office locations, et cetera. And so that seems healthy. But this condo market thing, this snowbird thing, yet another nail in the coffin for the condo market, right?
Yes, which I love how they kind of cherry pick some of these stats on Reuters here. For example, they interviewed an Arizona real estate agent who says he used to see 2 to 4 Canadians listings per quarter. Now he's got 18, which no question, that is a whole lot more. And then it's like, oh, well, there's 4 other guys who don't have any. So that's not necessarily indicative of what's actually happening. You know what I mean? Like that's too small of a sample size.
Yeah, we need to differentiate between anecdotal and like actual math, right?
Right. So, now, Canadian return flights dropped 13.5% this March compared to last year. I'll give that a little more merit.
Yeah.
Places like Clearwater and St. Pete, second home mortgage locks are down 25% year over year.
This is, So again, we're seeing this overall though. Like this isn't just,
that's true.
This isn't just the Canadians, but the Canadians add to the growing concern, right? Less Canadians coming, less New Yorkers coming. We talked about this last week, right? Just if you look at the U-Haul study and the census recently, the population growth in South Florida has dropped off dramatically from its high in 21. So it's still positive population growth, but it's substantially less than what it was, and as expected, the peak is behind us. So,
and Canada is playing their part in that as well. So,
exactly.
Who knows? Who knows how much the politics are really factoring into those decisions? Again, when people get all up in arms and talk about bias, I'll be honest. This one kind of felt a little biased. It is interesting.
Well, let's talk about this too. So the condo market has really bad press right now. Prices.
It's going to get worse from what you've been saying.
Yeah, and it's probably going to get worse, and prices seem to be coming down, and we don't need to get into all the reasons why. But if you see that, if you're a potential second home buyer, a vacation rental buyer, or a snowbird, if you will, you're going to look at those news articles. I mean, we have clients texting us all the time, like, "Hey, did you see this one?" And they're like New Yorkers or Canadians or Chicago people, and so and you see those articles, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't buy right now, right? Yeah. So there you go. That'll reduce demand. So demand is being hampered overall, and Canadians are part of that. And so there's other reasons why some Canadians, political or new regulations that are reducing that. That's not helping, but I think just generally speaking, we're just seeing demand drop off for all the reasons.
Giving the prints, I have to admit, I did not know about that one. That is like sticking out to me. I'm like, all right. Okay, you guys aren't just being overly sensitive. I understand that would. I mean, but it's I understand, especially. I don't know if it's just one of those things that comes with age, but you get a little more paranoid about security and things like that. I don't plan on going out and murdering anyone, but it doesn't mean I necessarily want to give you my fingerprints. Just because.
I'm curious. Like for me, like any friction on doing things socially, it reduces my tendency to do them. So this is like an added friction item. So I'm wondering if you have to like go to somewhere while you're in the States to go get fingerprinted. That sounds annoying, right? So for me, it's just an annoyance thing more than anything. Like I don't want to be bothered by having to do these things. So I think that's part of it.
Which again, and I'm sure it's one of those where a lot of people aren't going to do it until they get pulled over or something. And,
right. Yeah. And deported.
Traffic stop, and suddenly it's like, oh, you didn't turn over your prints.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm going to need you to step out of the car. Okay. So anywho, I got to be honest with you. I had never actually heard the term granny flats before I came across this article.
Same.
CBS News. I mean, when they started explaining it, I'm like, oh, okay. So granny flats. I mean, I know what a flat is, but what is it about granny and like
Most
accessory dwelling units? Okay. So
ADUs. That's
yeah.
like a common term in the real estate space, but
Mhm.
maybe most people don't know what that is, right? So what this article is highlighting is Florida is making a big shift towards granny flats or ADUs. And what they're saying is the regulations are changing to allow more ADUs, or other people call them casitas, right? That's
No, I
been a
get
more
it. Little house, little
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's a
Seventh
California
grade
term.
Spanish is paying off.
There you go. So I've heard the word casita more than anything, right? So, but ADUs is the proper contractor term to use, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about this. There was a bill that was unanimously passed,
Which is amazing within itself, you know, considering the American world of partisan politics. If anything is unanimous, I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah. So they officially are embracing accessory dwelling units, which in different areas of Florida is like not allowed. Boca doesn't allow it.
Really?
Well, let's put it this way. It's not that they don't allow it. There's just more restrictions around how to execute on it. So it's a little bit more complicated. Whereas like in Delray, you see a bunch of them, right? And so it's just
a
different.
guest house, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm picturing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little guest house. And so there's limits on how big it can be and what you can put in it. So people kind of skirt the system when they do it. They do it one way to appease the city, and then afterwards they come in and do the reno and do the plumbing or whatever they want to do to make it an actual like livable dwelling unit. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Because I'm totally picturing like when Tom Brady was playing for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I think he had his Antonio Brown living in his guest house, you know, during his season. That's just what comes to mind. So if Tom was living in Boca Raton, Antonio Brown wouldn't have been able to stay in his guest house. That's could have changed everything.
So let's talk about this. So they passed it, but where did they pass it? There's still like levels of approval.
No, I think
right?
I believe it was it was the Senate. I still think the House has to approve it as well. So yeah, I mean it's
and so the big change.
You see this being a real solution? I mean, is this just kind of another brick in the wall, if you will, to try to deal with this?
Yeah, it's just like one little helpful thing, right? So I think the big changes that were made is listed here, right? It says requires local governments to allow ADUs on residential lots. So some local governments don't allow it, right? So that's helpful. Let's start there. And then prevents cities, as we were just discussing, from enforcing extra parking rules, penalizing homeowners who use it in their primary residence, et cetera. And then it keeps some local control for like setbacks and permitting, but removes most of the major roadblocks that get in the way of creating an ADU. Because historically, it's just harder to get these done here. So, and ADUs can be helpful. Like if you own a home and you need to subsidize your living expenses, or you need to bring your mother-in-law into the house or whatever, you know, you could build one of these out back. You know, it's kind of efficient, right? And they're not as expensive to build sometimes. Depends, right? I think everything is generally expensive now. So
well, here's what stood out to me too. I love how this amendment was included. No vacation rentals, that ADUs can't be rented out like Airbnbs. I honestly thought they were. Now, granted, I haven't done a lot of Airbnbs, but I've seen places. I thought that was a thing.
Yeah. So my initial reaction to this was, oh, sweet. You can build like a bunch of ADUs on all these properties and then like Airbnb, and you probably, you know, subsidize your whole rent if you do it right and you're in a good location, right?
Yeah.
But that's not cool. So they're not allowed to do that. They're not cool with that. Yeah. It says they must be used for longer term housing only, minimum of 30 days. So, you know, 30 days isn't crazy. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's still somewhat reasonable. That's like a midterm rental. And so like down here in South Florida, you have an ADU and you have, you know, you can rent out for a few of these months during the season, you can get pretty good rent for 30 days.
Yeah.
So if you use it like that, that's not a bad gig. So,
and you know what? If you're a retired couple that likes traveling and stuff, I mean, I think that'd be a pretty sweet deal.
I have friends that have more than one property around the state or around the country, and they don't have a permanent residence. They're just in and out of their, they're renting the one they're not in, they're living in one, and so they kind of keep it. If you're cool with that living experience, that's.
So and you see it on like HGN and stuff like those really small homes that for Airbnb purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I keep thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is cool. This will be helpful, I think, generally speaking. They talk about all the benefits of why it's going to be great and all that, and you and I just went through that. I think it's just going to help the housing crisis, right? So
I just feel like with all of this, it's like every little bit helps.
Even though it's
we're in this together. Yeah. We're doing our part.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a lot of people don't want to admit it, but to me, I feel like in many ways, California and Florida are two sides of the same coin. They're rather large coastal states that, I would say they have a certain dichotomy to them in terms of politics. Certainly, opposite ends of that spectrum. But in another area where it seems like they have a lot in common is insurance crises. So there was an article from Newsweek that breaks down the differences in these two and what they have in common as well. If you have never tuned into this before and you just came out from under that rock, evidently homeowners insurance has been skyrocketing in the state of Florida and has been for past several years. In California, a lot of that in terms of causes on the climate front. California, we've seen all the time with these wildfires. Just had another one pretty recently in California that was bad. And, a lot of people lost their homes and it's a mess. Florida, obviously we got the hurricanes, rising sea levels. Also, we've talked about how homes are sinking into the ground. But I digress. The real crisis isn't just the disasters. It's what's happening in the insurance market.
I found this interesting just to compare, because clearly we understand Florida's real estate market pretty well, real estate insurance market pretty well, but like to understand a little bit more about California's and how it, differs for better and worse. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting, right? So, yeah. So,
it's the same result. I mean, premiums are obviously through the roof. I mean, my goodness, these numbers never cease to amaze me. According to Newsweek, homeowner insurance rates are now up 42% since 2019. 42%. I just had to say that again for dramatic effect, as if you needed it. I mean, that still blows my mind.
And it's for a number of reasons, right? We've gone over this and beat this to death, but it's not just about hurricanes. It's about lawsuits and fraud, and that comes down to proper regulation and proper rules around how and what you can do as a homeowner, as a insurance company in Florida. And clearly it's misaligned probably because fraud has got out of control. Lawsuits have got out of control. And so people have taken advantage of the insurance situation on some level. Not everybody, probably select few that have made this worse for everyone. And so insurance companies are just like, I don't need to deal with this. Right.
Yeah. And they don't. I mean, they left, right? I mean, they literally went, you know what, we're out, guys. Been fun.
Do this? Because it's not lucrative for them. So they're a business and they have to make money. And if they don't make money, they're going to leave. And so it's that simple. And so that's where we ended up quite a few years ago. And then it was a mission.
Deal with this stuff on a regular basis. What's the biggest difference you've noticed, if any, in the last 6 months to a year with homeowner insurance? I mean, are there actually new carriers? Are you starting to see some of these things?
So like 2015 to 2020, even 2021, maybe not so much. So we started to see I as a buyer, I started to see the change because I knew how to kind of like play the game a little bit to like get insurance at the premiums that I'm looking for to make the investment work, and what I was going to invest in the asset to get premiums where I wanted them to be, or how I was not going to do certain things because I was going to use a different insurer that didn't care about X, Y, and Z the asset physically. And so like pre-2019, it was much easier to just get different insurance policies, get things done creatively, because there were multiple options and the insurance companies allowed it. They like allowed different things. So examples are like issues with water heaters, issues with roofs, issues with AC systems, issues with things like that. The main things that show up on what we call a 4-point inspection report from an inspector that the insurance companies look at. And so we were able to play with those, and there was many options. And so as time went on, it just got so much harder. And then it was just like, hey, here's the guy that's going to lend or insure on this, right? Or here's the company that's going to insure on this. There's no options, and this is the requirements. You can't play the games that you used to play to get deals done constructively. And it's not that it's like fraud by any means. It's just like playing within the lines, right? That you're allowed to play in to get things done. And so that stopped. That just stopped for a while. And now what I'm seeing is there's more flexibility again. So there is a little bit of that for sure. And this in itself is an art, being able to do deals in a way that, especially when you're dealing with 1970s construction, and there's a lot of that here in South Florida, right. 1960s, 1950s, whatever, even 1980s. There's an art to like understanding how the insurance is going to react to something and how to kind of maneuver it so your buyer can get the deal closed with financing properly and be happy and not pay a fortune. And so I think things are still pretty expensive, like as it says, prices are up 40%. Yeah. But hey, so is property values. So is, inflation on some level, it's up, right? So everything has kind of appreciated. So it's tough. It's tough, but it's not perfect, but it's better than it was. Yeah.
Yes. I did think it was interesting when they were comparing Florida and California, how California evidently is going through the same debacle with insurers pulling out of fire prone areas. So I mean, it's the same problem. You have less carriers, which means the ones who have remained can charge whatever the hell they want, and it's not
the end result. The end result is the same. It's like prices got high because there's less companies that want to do business or can do business profitably in the area, right? Yeah. And so the quick punchline is Florida, the root cause they claim is fraud and lawsuits, whereas California, it's regulations that prevent insurers from adjusting premiums fast enough to reflect the changing risk environment that they're in. And so there's like a rule. It says because of Prop 103, insurance companies can't raise rates without jumping through years of regulatory hoops. So
that's I mean, but that doesn't work without getting too political. That's kind of California in a nutshell right now.
So that's what they see there. Whereas Florida, on the other hand, a little bit more open, easygoing, like, let the fraud run wild, right? And that's Florida right there for you, baby. So let's talk about it. That's so true. So I think we have two opposite spectrums, and both really aren't working perfectly, and both are trying to find ways to like come to the middle. It's kind of interesting. So that's there. And so California has we all know what Citizens is here in Florida. It's the insurer of last resort, right? It's the state-backed insurance provider, because that's what we need here, because there's not enough insurance companies that can do all this stuff for the reasons we just described. And then you have California has a similar company or system called Fair Plan, I guess. And
the equivalent of Citizens.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of Citizens. California's version of Citizens, right? So they have this similar thing. And they're saying on both ends of the spectrum here, both of these, Citizens and Fair Plan, their increased coverage is just going through the roof. Like the amount of policies that and money or exposure that both of these entities have now is just huge. Whereas Florida now, I think they've been cutting it back quite a bit, right? Yeah. So So it's been good. We're trending in a better direction. The frustrating part is speaking as a owner of property and dealing with this, there's a word they're using, depopulating. They're using the word, they're depopulating their insurance bundles. So what they're doing is they're just passing it off to private companies, right? And so you get a note, hey, we've just passed this off to here's an example, condominiums reciprocal is one of the big companies that insures multifamily. And so like you're like, oh, okay, great. Well, I'd like to talk to this insurance company. Can I, like, who can my insurance guy talk to him? It's like a little bit of a pain in the ass to go talk to this insurance company, figure out what they're actually going to charge you, and so it's like none of this is perfect. It all sucks. So, but,
I mean, sounds like, just everybody's trying to find their own way of making it work.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. And so anyway, it's interesting. After the devastating fires in LA County, the Fair Plan had to issue a $1 billion assessment on private insurers just to stay solvent. Okay. So costs that will likely be passed on to the homeowners, they say. So they're in a bad spot. They're in a real bad spot. And I feel like this is me just talking at it, whatever, just saying stuff. But I feel like they're a little bit behind us on finding a solution because their issues they're big issues.
Right. It carries over. They got, and a lot of different things. It's kind of a symptom of the same problem.
And I think they're just a little further behind solving it because, again, their fires were recent and our hurricanes have been happening forever.
I was going to say, and I'm not going to get too high and mighty on them just because all it takes is another hurricane to, bring everybody here down. So
absolutely.
But I'm sure that will never happen.
Yeah, don't say that too loud. Yeah.
All right. Anywho, you know who clearly has survived all these countless hurricanes and rising sea levels and what have you in the climate crisis of Florida? Termites. Termites are still around.
They're unstoppable.
Orkin.
This is great.
Yeah, their 2025 rankings are out, and Miami is holding on to the top spot
baby.
As the most termite-infested area in the United States. So there you have it. And it's so fitting. We're talking about Florida versus California. We have Miami and Los Angeles 1 and 2. How about
there? We go. There we go.
But of course, then there's Tampa sliding right in behind them a third.
Yeah, it's interesting to see DC, but you got a lot of Florida on this map, right? You got West Palm Beach.
Makes sense, right, with the climate.
Orlando, Jacksonville's in here, Fort Myers. Florida is just a big termite cesspool.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's humid. It makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
The wood. But, it does surprise me a little, but I guess I don't know how. Is the concrete block construction, is that just for Palm Beach County or is that a statewide?
It's not statewide. So
it's not.
And it's not a requirement. It's just like in South Florida. Mm-hmm. And by South Florida, I'm saying like Tampa South, Orlando South, kind of whatever, West Palm, Jupiter South, even Port St. Lucie, actually South, all that stuff is concrete block, the new stuff. So it's just the better thing to do.
Because I was like, I'm like, wow, I guess, that's not stopping them.
But remember, in most cases, your roof trusts, your the strips that hold up the drywall against the wall to the concrete block, most of that is wood. The interior framing of a house isn't block, it's wood. So if it's not, in most cases, if it's not load bearing in the house, not always, but it's going to be wood. So you have that happening. So in concrete block homes, you have more exposure to, in most cases, dry wood termites, which are the ones that fly and swarm into the attic. They fly from one house to the next. And so if your neighbor has it, you're going to get a swarm one year and it's going to go into your house. It just is what it is.
So that's how it works. The swarms go from okay. See, I grew up in the Midwest. I don't know about these things.
So they like your neighbor's got it, or somebody in the neighborhood's got it, or it's in a tree or whatever. They're swarming season, and so they swarm and they send their workers out or whatever to go find the next location. Right. This is the thing. And
I feel like I'm on National Geographic right now.
Yeah. So it's a thing. So they do that, and then they land in a house. They go up through the vents because they're small little bugs. They fly in and they find something, especially if you have like something moist or and protected. So like if you have a little leak in your roof and there's some water on one of these beams, but you don't know what's happening because it's a small leak, but there's enough moisture there, they're going to go hit that, hang out, and then they're going to swarm in there. Wings drop off, and then they build their outpost until it becomes their colony, and then they take over your home.
They fortify their position.
They fortify their position. So here's the thing. So the good news is drywood termites don't do a lot of damage fast. I mean, you got 10 years, 15 years of like not taking care of things will get you in maybe trouble, whereas subterranean will create more problems. I know way too much about this because I bought homes and sell homes every day and deal with this. But I've bought homes that where we had to like basically re-support everything, remove all the foundational wood, and then put it all back together and put it. So we like figured out like, I've had enough experience with this to tell you, I know too much about this and how to prevent it and strategies around it. And so we deal with this every day. Like almost, we don't say in South Florida, we don't say the house, it's kind of like mold. It's like either a house has it or will have it. You know what I mean? Termites. You see what I'm saying? It's not, it's not if, it's when, right? So for anybody who's like looking to relocate here or learning about real estate in South Florida, termites, you can expect to see something going on. And so there's just a number of, and so that's just buying real estate in South Florida. And so when you buy a wood frame house, you have to be double concerned about this because now the exterior walls are all wood. They're not block. Right. And so now you're like, what is behind these walls when you're buying this house? You can't take the drywall out and inspect every beam. I sold a friend a house and, he bought it for a pretty good price, but he started reinstalling windows, impact windows from the old non-impact windows. And when he took the old windows out, he had to reframe every single window because they were eaten up, So they were just structurally a mess. So it's a thing. It's a thing for sure.
I'm looking at some of the statistics here. It's like, wow, $5 billion in property damage every year nationwide. That's a lot. That is a whole lot.
Here's what I thought was interesting. And this was obvious, but I didn't think of it like this. They mention in the article that, most people think insurance covers like house issues, but this is typically not something that's covered, right? So in insurance. So this is normally paid out of pocket for solutions. So, and
they don't include termites in their coverage plan
because it's considered preventable, right? And so you do your home inspection, you have a pest control guy come out, he does his best to try to find stuff, and there's always this debate, right? It's like we're under contract, we're in the inspection, buyer's termite guy, pest guys usually find pests. It's just like the move because they prescribe, hey, this is how I can fix this for $1,000, just pay me. Right. So it's like a little bit of a conflict of interest. Pest guys are going to give me a hard time over that, but there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. And so it's always a question of, is it active or is it not active termite activity? Right. Because unless you see the little bugs squirming around, which you usually don't, usually see their wings or you see the wood eaten up. Right.
Yeah.
Are they active in there? If you find active termites in a house, whoa, like it's not as common to find them like just like chomping away.
You just see the aftermath.
Like you're in there with the freaking flashlight and you're like, whoa, look at all that. You see the aftermath and then they'll swarm again and you'll see them again. And so, so it's always a question of like, well, does it really need to be treated? Because the seller will claim, no, I handled this a long time ago. It's not a problem. And the buyer will be like, well,
even though they can't prove
guarantee it. That. Now I need to tent this house, or now I need to spot treat it, or now I need to spray the whole attic with borate, right? do all this crazy stuff. So it's
Man, that's
like I said, I know more about this.
I can imagine. It sounds like you have to deal with this quite a bit. That's wow, that's fun. That's a lot of fun.
As the market changes and buyers get more power, almost always is this a topic of discussion. So down here, what you get is what they call a WDO, a wood destroying organism report. And that classify, termites are classified as WDOs, but so is like mildew and other stuff. So you get this like
they're like the WMDs of houses.
Exactly. And so they put it in your face and they're like, hey, solve this seller, or give me money to solve it afterwards. And so a typical home, tent could range from maybe $2,000 to $3,500, to tent the home. So, and if you have a wood home, it's good to, unless there's like a bond on the property, which most people don't pay for a bond, it's good to just rock and roll and get that tented if there's any sign of potential activity, right? And then just go forward. Your house is tight before you move in, right? Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well,
that was more than you bargained for.
I was going to say, it does. You know what? You'll have to give me a moment. My mind's been blown now. I do know there is one thing that termites don't eat. Actually, there's a lot of things they don't eat, but one thing here, they don't eat glass, which downtown Boca Raton, they are going to get their first iconic glass luxury tower. Glass House, the city's first iconic glass luxury tower. And it's not just another high-end building. It's a defining moment in how Boca does modern luxury living. Okay, Larry, I remember seeing when they were, you sent me out to see the demolition of it was right there along Palmetto, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a great location.
And so they're moving dirt. They're doing things. This is happening. This building is being built and pre-sales are underway. And I asked the sales lead there the other day how much they pre-sold, and she would not disclose to me. But my guess is they're somewhere in the 30% pre-sold range. There's not too many of these things to sell, right? There's 28 units in this building. So it's super boutique, really cool. What's interesting about this building, besides the architecture, as a real estate guy and talking to the other developers who are looking at other sites and projects in the area, is the average per square foot that they are charging for these units. They are definitely breaking records. I mean, the average is $1,500 a foot in here, and the price range is between 2.5 million and 7 million. So, wow. So that is definitely per foot a pretty big average number. So just to give you some context, the Alina, I could probably tell you. I have a spreadsheet here. Let me share this with you. Look at that. So I just did this for another developer in the area that's looking at other projects. And so we were just comparing, what's on the market. And this is about a couple months old now, but it still kind of serves its point. So if you look, what do I have here? This is actives, I believe. Yeah, actives. Okay, these are the actives. These are the condos in the area that arguably are comparable to Glass House, but the Glass House is really high end, so it's not perfectly comparable. But some of these are nice. The average asking per foot at the time when I ran this stat is $1,376 a foot average. The median is $1,340. The min was under 1,000, and the max was 2,600. So, and that 2,600 was a big deal. But the more appropriate numbers to look at are closed sales, and so you can see what the closed averages are. It's $1,260 a foot, and the median is about 1,100. So 1,500.
I was going to say it's only a few hundred more, but I understand when you're talking about thousands of square feet, it adds up in a hurry.
Exactly. So, some of these other competing developers in the area are like, wow, that's a pretty big bet. That's a big bet to bet that you're going to get this number. And it seems like they're getting it, and obviously they're delivering high-end finishes. It's a very cool building. It's in a great location. I'll show you the location in a second. This is kind of neat. I like this. This pool deck is pretty sweet. This is like one of a kind of. The Alina has something like this. Tower 155 has something kind of like this, but not like this. This is so I guess what I'm saying is Alina has a like second or third story pool set up. It's somewhere between third floor and fifth floor in the different buildings over there. This is on the top, right, which is pretty cool. And you got pretty epic views. And again, you got the glass balconies there to kind of have incredible views, whereas Tower 155 does not have views like this at all. So what you're looking at there is the Boca Raton Club to the left, the Boca Raton Club's golf course straight ahead. To the right should be.
I feel like all those luxury condos are right around the edge of that golf course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you got the Alina, which is, you can basically see it on the corner there behind that palm tree. So this is pretty sweet. So the amenities here, are centered around wellness, and they're trying to dial it up to justify this price point. And this is it's a walkable location. So I think they're doing a pretty good job here with this. I mean, this all looks awesome. I like the cold plunge. I think that's something that some of these communities are missing. They got to have the cold plunge,
Yeah.
I was given one of the. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think it's in cases like this? I mean, like you said, this is a boutique one. Do you think it's almost like a test run, if you will, in a way? I mean, obviously you're throwing on a lot of money. I mean, it's still a risk, but to see if it lands well, that maybe this would be the first of several types of glass luxury condos.
Yeah, I think everybody's just got to have their unique edge, their design that they want to bring to market, and having the same thing multiple times is boring. And you're dealing with people who have real money and they want the cutting edge thing, right? And so they're not spending $7 million they can spend somebody who's spending 7 million can spend 10 million, right? And so it's just a choice. And so they're spending this money because and you're buying new construction at huge prices because you want the just perfection, right? So so that's, I think what you're seeing here is like each one of these buildings, when they start construction, I mean, they've designed this a year and a half ago, probably before they started building it. So as time goes on, it becomes maybe less cutting edge, and then you're on to the next thing. Like the Alina looks pretty sweet, right? But the glass house, I don't know, looks kind of cooler, right? Because it's newer. The Alina started in 2020. And so it's very different. So that's, I don't know, that's my reaction to it. I think more modern is the direction, right? You have Tower 155, which looks a little bit more Art Deco, but that finished in 2020. So again, that was a little older. Whereas the Alina is like finishing now.
Right. I was gonna say it's still not done, right? I mean, I know it's close.
It's finishing now. Well, phase 3 is finishing now, right? So let me show you this. I thought this was interesting for anybody who's into this stuff, like looking for a high-end condo in downtown Boca. This is the list of actives and solds in East Boca Raton downtown area that properties that are newer than 2019 builds, right? And so you don't really have much here. So this is where Glass House is going to be, which is right off Palmetto Park Road. And so Meisner is right here, right? So you're walkable. I mean, there's restaurants right along this strip. There's stuff going on, and things are just getting better. Here's Royal Palm Plaza. So you have all that going on there. So walkable. You have also quick access to the Boca Raton Club if you're a member. Actually, what I was talking to the Glass House group there, and for a client, and they're offering to pay for memberships to the Boca Raton Club, assuming it's available. So the memberships. So it's kind of interesting. They're trying to include that and wrap that into the project. So
yeah.
So this is the Alina here. So the
Right.
Alina is the other I don't know, rival community that's newer, right? And then you have which one is this? This is I don't remember the name of it.
Well, that was I know I'm drawing a blank too, and that was exactly the one I was thinking of.
Royal Palm Residences.
Yeah.
So this is the other one that's I mean literally blocks away. So they're
Right.
all like blocks away from each other. To your point, John. Royal Palm Residences, Tower 155, which I don't think is really a competitor at all to Glass House, frankly, and I don't think it's really a competitor to Alina. The price point is different, but it's a 2020 build, so it's in the conversation right now. And so that's it. That's really all you have. It's really all you have here. I mean, you have the Mandarin, which you don't have.
No, I drove by it again a couple days ago, and I'm just like, wow, it looks like nothing has changed.
I don't know. Whatever. It's so those are the, you have 3 buildings to choose from in downtown if you're looking for newer vintage product. Mm-hmm. So the Glass House is going to be exciting. There's other projects that I'm not at the liberty to disclose just yet because we're working.
What about the one in the northeast corner of that map there, 1000 South Ocean? Because when I saw that kind of had a glass setup too. What's going on with that one? Because that's what I was thinking of.
They're not moving dirt. They're not doing anything yet. I've been working with a group that would like to acquire that, and that hasn't gone anywhere. So that's where we're at with that. But there is another one in downtown that's coming soon that we'll share probably before anybody else knows about, and that'll be another exciting one coming. Again, there's a bunch of new projects going on in downtown that are on the cusp of hitting. So, yeah.
Again, it's nice seeing that all the developers in this area are still very bullish in light of all the uncertainty, if you will.
Yeah, I think the Glass House is setting a new price point or per foot for downtown product, assuming they're successful, which I think they will be. I'm not really worried about their execution. The Mandarin, on the other hand, just whatever. They've already proven that we should be worried about their execution. Yeah. So I think Glass House is going to get done pretty quickly, and I think they're going to sell pretty well. And just going through some of the finishes and the work that they're doing over there with the sales team, I feel like it's going to set a new price bracket for the community, which is great because other projects are on their way, and they're not going to go if the Glass House isn't successful. Mm-hmm. So it's just like Pompano. We talked about this, right? Like Pompano, they have a rhythm and a system for these waterfront, island, oceanfront condo buildings, right? They're just like pumping these things out. Next one, and they're pre-selling and getting it done, and it's just been successful. So they just keep knocking them out. And so we need to see that happen here in order to keep the trend going, which I think is positive. Like let's develop on these vacant lots. Let's put the big condos up. I know some people are going to disagree with that.
Larry, there's going to be more traffic.
The traffic. Oh my God.
I was going to say, It's like you live within walking distance of everything worthwhile, but you're worried about the traffic. That's what gets me.
My whole thing is like, I'm pro, like, make everything super walkable. So for me personally, and I live in downtown, so I'm like, hey, let's make it walkable because I don't want to have to drive anywhere. So to me, downtown should be walkable. Yes, it shouldn't be a pain in the butt to get out of downtown, which it kind of is sometimes. So that's the only hurdle to living super east on, like, I live right here, just east, right, very close to the beach. And so it's like, sometimes it's a pain getting west, but for me, it's worth it, for sure. And the more things you could put that are walkable and close, I'm excited about. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about, this is kind of interesting, Gummy Works.
I was wondering if that was the one we were going to touch on next. Gummy Works.
Yeah, let's talk about that, and maybe we'll end it with that, or maybe we'll talk about one other.
And I was going to say, for people who aren't familiar with Gummy Works, it is a leading vitamin gummy manufacturer, which just launched its brand new 100,000 square foot facility this month in West Palm Beach. So the place isn't just big, it's game changing. With the capacity to produce 18 million gummies every single day. Jeez. It's also creating 400 high-paying jobs across sectors like scientific research, chemistry, marketing, and advanced manufacturing. I mean, that was a nice press release they put out.
Great job.
Yeah,
they look delicious.
Those are gummies. Look good. I like gummies. High-wage job creation like this typically brings in high-skilled professionals. Obviously, those professionals need places to live, work, and play. So the demand drives up both residential and commercial real estate values. Again, it seems like everybody and their brother is moving to, some of these nice new places in West Palm Beach and other parts, as we were just talking about. It's great. I mean, I didn't know a whole lot about Gummy Works prior to seeing this story, but I don't see it right. A new business. I mean, a new national brand in Palm Beach County. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's positive. And that's one of the reasons why I think you and I like to highlight this stuff. It's like, let's see more of this. We obviously talk about all the glamorous things, expensive homes and people buying real expensive condos and all that. But job growth is like the core to the area, right?
I mean, to maintain that growth, because traditionally, as we've talked about many, many times, obviously it's generally retirees that come down here. It's not, professionals. It's retired professionals.
Yep.
So
18 million gummies. Let's go Gummy Works.
That's a lot of, I know. I have to admit, if I'm in the area and they do tours, I would like to see a tour of that place.
Yeah. It's kind of neat.
I'm sure they do. I mean, that is kind of cool.
They're working hard.
Yeah.
I had somewhere. So it's in the Palm Beach area, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shipping. They're doing all. At first, I thought it was just a company that had a specialty, like they were selling vitamins, but it looks like they're manufacturing a ton of different types of gummy bears.
Yeah, like I recognized when I see the logo. I mean, I'm very visual. It's like, when I saw the logo, I was like, oh, I've seen stuff with that logo on it.
Yep.
So we have that.
All right.
And we also have a Florida program that's offering first-time home buyers $25,000. So that's something nice.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So we've been digging into this a little bit. Historically, these programs that offer first-time home buyers, I don't know, cash back, major discounts, whatever it is, are hard to qualify for, and especially for people that we're typically working with in our market, right? Mm. So even recently, we had one of our first-time home buyers who wanted to qualify for this, and like after we went through it and we spent a whole bunch of time with the lender and just tried to figure this out, the lender was like, "You guys make way too much money to qualify for this." Like, right? And it's not like they make a lot of money, but they're professionals. One was an engineer and one's something else, and so it's like they're getting a salary that doesn't qualify them whatsoever for some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So this could be interesting, and we don't have like all the information on this yet, but this is an exciting possible option for anybody out there who's looking to try to qualify for additional assistance. This could be a new thing. It's called Nest Gen, and
which I thought was a typo when I first saw it. I was like, you mean Next Gen?
Yeah. And on here, it's called nestment.com. So, so I don't know.
Nest, I guess, is what they're playing off with.
Yeah. So receive up to $25,000 toward your purchase. And so basically the gist is you have to go through an educational program. You have to attend 4 out of 5 lessons with industry experts to complete complete short weekly assessments. And if you stick with it, and you close a home, you could get a rebate of $25,000. So it's a rebate.
Oh, it's a rebate. I hate rebates. Or at least
No,
when I was buying like a printer or something else,
totally.
you know.
You gotta do all this work to
I
get
feel like they were preying on my laziness. You know.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if this program is a success, if it sticks around. And so we'll be pushing this to some people that we think qualify for it, and we'll report back to you on how it goes, if it's effective or not, because we haven't been in the program yet to really give you a good sense of what's going on. Yeah.
All right. So do
Let's
we want to
call it
wrap it
that.
up here, or do we want to talk about Dance All Day Fest returning to West Palm Beach? It's up to you, Larry.
We're done.
Okay. All right. Well, just everyone who wants to
Stay
look
tuned
into
next
it,
week.
you can do a Google search and see that the Dance All Day Festival is returning to West Palm Beach.
You really
The
wanted
truth
to
is,
talk
Larry
about
is excited about it. He just, for whatever reason, is too embarrassed to talk about it. And that's okay. You know, we're going to keep it light and friendly here. On behalf of Larry Mastropieri, broker, owner of the Mastropieri Group, I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida. Just once again, want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.